Davey Boy Smith's first singles run in WCW is quite interesting. The British Bulldog is easily best known for his time in the WWF, whether it was teaming up with the Dynamite Kid, his huge win over Bret Hart at Wembley Stadium, or even his tag team with brother-in-law Owen Hart and their involvement in the Hart Foundation. When people think of Davey, they usually think of the WWF. Towards the end of 1992 though, just 4 months after winning the Intercontinental title at Summerslam, Davey was released from his WWF contract, and the Bulldog wasted no time at all in gaining new employment from the WWF's biggest rival at the time, World Championship Wrestling. In WCW, Davey was positioned as a main eventer straight away, getting the opportunity to headline pay-per-views while becoming a regular attraction on WCW's Saturday Night Show, and I feel this portion of Davey's career hasn't been discussed enough, so today let's take a look at the British Bulldogs' 1993 run in WCW. Davey's final televised appearance for the WWF in 1992 happened at Saturday night's main event on November 11th. On this show, Davey Boy Smith dropped his Intercontinental title to Shawn Michaels. This show was taped. It actually happened live on the 27th of October 92, so this means that Davey still defended the IC title on house shows right up until Saturday night's main event aired on television. Davey's true final match of this WWF run happened at a house show in Portland, Maine. Davey successfully defended the Intercontinental title against Papa Shango. The Bulldog was released after this match, though Davey didn't go straight to WCW. Instead, he travelled to the NWA affiliated ECW for 2 matches. The first was against Jimmy Snuka and the second was against the Masked Superstar, maybe better known as Demolition Axe. Smith won both of these matches. With the Sting vs Vader feud in WCW getting played out a little in 1992, WCW decided to bring Davey Boy Smith in and position him as a top babyface. The plan here was to present the Bulldog vs Vader for the WCW title on pay-per-view. Davey Boy was a huge draw in Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom, and with WCW also venturing overseas to present live shows, the company felt it made sense to position Davey Boy high in the cards to not only freshen things up in the main event picture, but to also help sell those UK house shows. The WWF were doing extremely well with their European tours, and WCW wanted to match that success. And so, even with the knowledge that Davey Boy wasn't exactly the most clean and straightened out superstar, World Championship Wrestling presented Davey Boy Smith for the very first time at Super Brawl 3 on the 21st of February 1993. Davey Boy defeated Bill Irwin in his debut match. Bill is maybe better known as the Goon in the WWF. On the 27th of February 1993 episode of WCW Saturday Night, Davey Boy made his WCW weekly television debut when he defeated Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, and from here, Davey would get pushed as one of WCW's biggest players as he destroyed his opposition on TV. Granted, the Bulldog was fed lower card talent. To help Davey get over as a babyface in WCW, he was associated with the company's most over superstar at the time, the man called Sting. Davey had a good relationship with All Japan Pro Wrestling dating back to his days with the Dynamite Kid. After Davey taped a lot of matches for the WCW Saturday Night TV show, he was able to take himself off to Japan to work the AJPW Champion Carnival 1993 tour, allowing him to work with guys such as Steve Williams, Kenta Kobashi and Stan Hansen. When Davey returned to the United States, the Vader match was booked for Slamboree 1993. Eric Bischoff revealed on his podcast that there was serious talks of putting the title on Davey around this time. Again, the main reason being the desire to expand business in Europe, mainly in Germany and the UK. Eric said, "People were really high on Davey Boy Smith. In 1993 there was a lot of focus on Europe, especially in the UK. There was a lot of things being done to try and lay the groundwork on making WCW more of an established brand. There was a lot of conversation about it." While Davey Boy Smith didn't win the WCW title at Slamboree 93, the match still needs to be seen as it's honestly some of Davey's best work. It's definitely a forgotten match that goes a long way in showing how Davey could work the audience, something he isn't really well known for. Vader thought he could push Davey around at the beginning of the match the same way he bullied his previous opponents, but Davey Boy holds his ground. The pop Davey gets when he shakes his finger and shakes his head at the all-dominating WCW champion is great. The fans in attendance felt that Vader may have finally met his match. I know this sounds odd when talking about the British Bulldog during this time period, but watch it for yourself. It sure would have been interesting to see the audience response had Davey won the title at Slamboree. What we instead got was a valiant display of resilience from the British Bulldog. Vader threw everything at his opponent, but even with Harley Race helping out, the WCW champion couldn't keep Davey Boy down. The Bulldog kicked out of everything as Vader just couldn't find a way to win the match. In the end, Davey Boy hit his running power slam when he grabbed Vader out of a corner splash, but Harley Race broke up the pin attempt. Vader grabbed the chair and the match ended in a DQ finish. Even though Davey didn't win the title, he walked out of Slamboree looking better than when he walked in. It looked like the British Bulldog had Vader's number, and a rematch between Davey Boy Smith and Big Van Vader was inevitable, but we'd have to wait a few months before getting there. Still, I recommend checking this main event out. There's some incredible displays of strength from Davey Boy Smith, and Big Van Vader is completely ruthless throughout the match. Admittedly, the finish does let the bout down, but still, it's worth a watch. The next big show Davey took part in was June's Clash of the Champions special. Davey Boy teamed up with Dustin Rhodes and Sting to take on Rick Rude and the Masters of the Powerbomb, Big Van Vader and Sid Vicious. The heels were able to win the match after Vader hit Dustin Rhodes with a briefcase that contained the US title, and so the rivalry would continue into WCW's next pay-per-view, Beach Blast 1993. This is probably the pay-per-view that most people remember when thinking of Davey Boy Smith's 1993 WCW run, and it isn't because of the match he took part in. Oh no, it's because of the mini-movie that WCW produced to hype up the Superpowers versus the Masters of the Powerbomb main event. Even though the tag team match is pretty good, everyone points to the mini-movie, and with good reason too. It's so ridiculous and cheesy that I can't do it justice by talking about it. You need to see it for yourself. These mini-movies that WCW produced, such as the Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal vignette and the White Castle of Fear movie, these cost WCW a ton of money, and instead of bringing intrigue and adding layers to the matchup, they all ended up unintentionally hilarious. But anyway, the Beach Blast movie's around 7.5 minutes long. It starts off with Vader, Sid Vicious, Harley Race and Colonel Robert Parker somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. The bad guys heard that Sting and Davey Boy Smith are playing volleyball with some kids on a random island somewhere, and so the heels want to get a preemptive strike before their encounter on pay-per-view. Harley Race and Robert Parker say they have an offer they'd like to make Sting and Davey, and if they don't accept, the Colonel's got a little surprise in store. We cut to a shark swimming in the water, but oh look, it isn't a shark, it's one of Colonel Robert Parker's henchmen in disguise. The henchman blows his cover by swimming beside some children, but this doesn't stop the eye-patched villain from placing a fucking bomb inside Sting and Davey Boy's boat. Sid and Vader show up on the beach. Sid's in his flip-flops and Vader's wearing sneakers, and the heels can't stop grunting and laughing as they meet up with Davey Boy and Sting. The Colonel offers the babyfaces tickets to the retirement haven of their choice if they throw the match. Sting contemplates it for a moment, but the good guys turn down the offer in unison. Harley Race and Robert Parker tell Sting and Davey that they won't even make it to Beach Blast and they just signed their death warrant. Davey doesn't care, he just wants to play volleyball. But the kids turn out to be little snitches when they tell Sting and Davey that a mysterious eye patch wearing shark was hanging around their boat earlier on. Davey has to run to save the Stinger from getting blown up. Davey dives on Sting as the boat explodes. The kids cry as it looks like our heroes are toast. But look, they're absolutely fine. They even have their arms raised in victory. No murder attempt will stop Davey Boy and Sting from going to Beach Blast and having their way with Vader and Sid Vicious. Incredible stuff here. The acting and editing make it all the better. If you haven't seen this for whatever reason, then go out of your way to watch it. As mentioned earlier, the Beach Blast tag team match was pretty decent. People immediately think of the mini movie though, and I think this kind of sways people's opinion on the actual bout, but I thought the match was alright. The audience goes absolutely nuts for the baby faces though, and we can't really give Davey all the credit here because Sting's crowd reactions during this time period were always deafening. I'm pretty sure this match also features the very first Vader salt performed in WCW 2. It was always a sight to behold, but when you see it for the first time, it really does look awesome. The match plays out as you'd expect. The babyfaces need to make those hot tags on more than one occasion. There's bursts of offense from Davey and Sting, but the heels use their size and power to slow things down. The match ends with Sting saving Davey with a splash from the elevated ramp into the ring. I thought this looked pretty good too. Davey is then able to apply a crucifix pin and the match is over. Davey Boy Smith just pinned the WCW champion on pay-per-view. The Superpowers celebrate in the ring as Vader slams chairs on the ground. With this pinfall victory, Davey was now in line for another shot at the WCW title. Davey would get his title match at Clash of the Champions 24 in August of 1993. Sting and Davey Boy were also on the road to Fall Brawl 93 where they would compete in War Games. Sting, Davey Boy Smith, Dustin Rhodes and a mystery partner were going to take on Sid Vicious, Kane and Cole of Harlem Heat and Big Van Vader in the War Games match. And at this same Clash show where Davey Boy was getting a title shot against Vader, the Superpowers announced their mystery partner for Fall Brawl War Games. It's the Shockmaster. I've made an entire video on the Shockmaster in WCW. You should see a link on your screen right now if you want to learn more. Anyway, Vader vs Bulldog. Because of how their Slamboree match ended, Vader vs Bulldog 2 had a special stipulation. The title could change hands in the event of a disqualification. If you thought Davey's displays of power at Slamboree were good, wait until you see Clash of the Champions 24. It amazes me that nobody talks about this, but Davey does some incredible stuff here. From hitting a delayed vertical suplex on the rampway at the beginning of the match to picking Vader up with ease to deliver a Samoan drop, Davey Boy really makes you forget that Vader weighed over 400 pounds. After another physical match, Davey Boy once again came out empty-handed. The referee took a bump when Bulldog caught Vader in mid-air for a power slam. This allowed Harley Race to come in and deliver a chop lock to the challenger. Vader fell on Davey and Davey's shoulders were counted to the mat. Unfortunately, this would be the British Bulldogs' last televised WCW title match. Fall Brawl 93 took place in Houston, Texas on September 19th, and our main event is the War Games match I mentioned earlier. There's good reason why this one isn't talked about all that often. It was a poor War Games match that saw Davey Boy's team score the victory. It wasn't Sting who clinched the victory in the match beyond, it wasn't the natural Dustin Rhodes, it wasn't even the Bulldog. Yep, it was the Shockmaster who won the whole match for the babyfaces. Even with the finish, the War Games match itself felt incredibly underwhelming. I'm a huge fan of War Games, but this one was very flat. Following Fall Brawl, Davey Boy Smith was completely moved out of the title picture in favour of a returning Cactus Jack. Davey would move into a feud with fellow countryman and TV champion Lord Steven Regal, and the two would square off at the Halloween Havoc show. Now, if you'd only seen Davey Boy's matches with Vader, you'd think that Davey would go into this match planning to use all those big power moves while Regal would try to wear the Bulldog out with mat wrestling. But Davey actually wrestles a technical match here, showing off some impressive counters along with some incredible agility that kept Steve Regal on his toes. The British Bulldog is very impressive here at changing up his style, and Regal plays the part brilliantly. His reactions sell us on Davey's surprising offensive and defensive skills. I spoke about this in my Reliving the War series, but Regal's WCW matches have become better with age, and fans who watched Regal when they were younger may have a brand new respect for his lordship after going back and watching his matches today. Anyway, the match ends up hitting the 15-minute time limit and we have ourselves a draw. This is yet another good Davey Boy Smith match in WCW. It's underrated and you should definitely check it out. But at the same time, you can clearly tell here that the company wanted to move in another direction at this point. Davey went on the UK WCW tour where he would wrestle Vader in the main event, event. He even won and lost the WCW title in a classic dusty finish at the Royal Albert Hall in London. The show sold well, but WCW wasn't going to feature Davey Boy in a main event capacity moving forward. Sting and Davey had their final match as a tag team at Clash of the Champions 25. They were defeated by the Nasty Boys, if you can believe it. Rick Rude attacked Davey Boy Smith before the match got underway, and the attack was used as an explanation for defeat. But the fact that Davey Boy was fired up during the match and cleaning house before getting pinned kinda ruined what WCW was going for here. Davey Boy Smith wouldn't get his revenge on ravishing Rick Rude in the end, nor would he have another match with Steven Regal. Davey's final WCW pay-per-view appearance occurred at the BattleBowl 1993 show. For those unfamiliar, the BattleBowl or Lethal Lottery concept was previously held at Starrcade 91 and 92. Tag teams were randomly paired up during the show, and winning teams went into the BattleBowl over-the-top rope battle royal. In 1993, WCW decided to create a BattleBowl pay-per-view. The event was held in Pensacola, Florida, and the BattleBowl show would end up being a one-off. The event didn't return in 94. Davey Boy Smith was paired up with Cole of Harlem Heat, better known as Booker T, and the Bulldog and Booker took on Road Warrior Hawk and Rip Rogers in the final tag team match of the evening. Davey's team didn't win their match, and therefore the British Bulldog and Booker did not compete in the BattleBowl Battle Royal. Vader ended up winning the whole thing after he eliminated Sting. Around 2 weeks later, Davey had his final match of this WCW run, defeating enhancement talent Bert Styles on an episode of WCW Saturday Night. So, as you can probably tell, Davey Boy Smith pretty much left the WCW main event scene as quick as he entered it. It looked like WCW were giving Davey a big push to start things off, but all of a sudden, he was lost in the shuffle. You could say that WCW maybe got what they wanted out of Davey Boy Smith, and that was a temporary boost to their European house show numbers, but reports say that it was actually Davey's own actions that led to his quick decline and sudden release from WCW. Davey wouldn't have passed any wellness tests, let's just put it that way. He was apparently a little out of control behind the scenes, and he still enjoyed partying, according to reports of course. The straw that broke the camel's back didn't happen in the locker room or in the ring. Apparently Davey went after a guy in a bar who was chatting up his wife Diana. Davey applied a chokehold and the guy went into a coma that lasted for weeks. Davey would get acquitted years later, but the incident caused WCW to release the British Bulldog from his contract. Charges and lawsuits also came at World Championship Wrestling, and the company just felt it wasn't worth the hassle. Davey went back to the UK where he worked for All Star Wrestling before reappearing in the WWF in the summer of 1994. When all is said and done though, there really are some good wrestling matches to be found when looking at Davey's 1993 WCW run. I know the Beach Blast mini-movie seems to pop into people's heads when they think of the British Bulldog during this time period, but check out his singles matches with Vader and also look into the Halloween Havoc match with Steve Regal. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.